What if you found out you were only using maybe 40% of what you're truly capable of?
Right.
Imagine getting like a warning order for your own life, a challenge really to unlock everything you've got by facing down your fears, embracing the tough stuff.
Yeah, and that's the relentless mindset we're getting into today. We're exploring David Goggins.
Exactly. So our mission today, it's a deep dive into the really raw life story and honestly, the compelling insights of David Goggins, retired Navy SEAL, ultra-endurance athlete, former Air Force TACP.
And we're pulling directly from his book, Can't Hurt Me, Master Your Mind.
Yeah.
The stories, the principles, it's all in there.
And for you listening, our goal is to pull out those core ideas, his armored mind philosophy, understand how he went from feeling like a victim to, well, mastering himself. And crucially, figure out how you can maybe apply some of these intense lessons to break free in your own life, build that kind of unbreakable foundation.
Because Goggins really emphasizes that change comes through, study, habit, stories.
Yeah.
And he famously says, motivation is crap.
Right.
It's about being truly driven.
Yeah, this isn't about feeling good. It's really about understanding how to be better, how to have a bigger impact.
We're looking at specific stories, specific challenges from the book. I mean, from his incredibly difficult childhood through his military career and into those, frankly, extreme athletic achievements.
Okay, so let's get into it. It starts with his origin story, as he calls it, early life. On the surface, Paradise Road in Williamsville looked, well, perfect, right?
Totally. Beautiful house, fancy cars, Rolls-Royce, Corvette, perfect lawn, the whole deal.
But that glossy surface, what was really underneath?
It was just a facade, hiding severe domestic abuse from his father, T.S. Goggins. And from age 6, David was working these brutal all-night shifts at Skateland, his dad's rink.
6 years old.
Yeah. Polishing floors, handling skates, cleaning bathrooms, inventory.
Yeah.
Off until midnight, sometimes later. And the detail that just chills you. He mentions a loaded pistol kept under the cushion where he slept in the office.
That's unbelievable. And the abuse, it didn't stop there. There was a specific night he describes, wasn't there? A kind of turning point.
Right. He talks about the night his mother confronted his father about infidelity. It turned violent, physical abuse.
And Goggins intervened as a child.
He did, slamming his small fists into his father's back, scratching, screaming, "Don't hit my mom." He calls it his first taste of hate over fear.
Hate over fear.
Yeah, seeing how that intense emotion, even anger, could actually push back against the fear that usually paralyzed him. It was sort of the beginning of weaponizing his will.
Amidst all that darkness, his mother tried to find these swatches of light, as he puts it. What were those?
Well, she signed him up for Cub Scouts, for example.
Okay.
And he felt this unexpected pride in the uniform, trying to be a normal kid. But it was immediately complicated, by being the only black Cub Scout in a mostly white town. He felt like a pretender, caught between pride and feeling out of place.
This whole unstable, terrifying situation eventually led to a huge change. His mother left his father.
An incredibly brave decision. Took David and his brother, lived in a hotel conference room for a bit, then ended up with grandparents in Brazil, Indiana, with basically nothing.
In Brazil, Indiana is where he met Sister Catherine, this grumpy-as-hell nun, you said. What was her impact?
Huge impact. She had this no-excuses mentality. Goggins was 8, repeating 2nd grade, couldn't really read.
Right.
She put in extra time with him, and by the end of the year, he was reading at a 2nd grade level. He contrasts her genuine care, even her gruffness, with his father's fake smile. A big lesson for him in seeing past appearances.
But the school struggles weren't over. 3rd grade brought another challenge, right? Something that really affected him personally.
Yeah, a new teacher, Mrs. D, suggested he belonged in a special school. And that triggered a severe stutter almost overnight. School became, in his words, a torture chamber.
So what did he do?
He chose silence, mostly.
Yeah.
To avoid the humiliation. And he started cheating, just to survive academically, to limit exposure, as he put it.
And on top of the academic issues, there was the racism in Brazil, Indiana, being the only black kid.
Constant bullying, mistreatment. He tells some really disturbing stories, like a pickup truck pulling a gun on him and his cousin, Confederate flag showing.
Horrifying.
Another time at Pizza Hut, a girl's father using a slur against him. It wasn't just isolated stuff, it was the environment.
And the school officials, the principal, how did they handle it?
Shockingly dismissive. He found a lynching drawing on his Spanish workbook. The principal's response: "They don't even know how to spell nigger."
Wow. Wow. How did that kind of indifference affect him?
It created this deep loneliness, this constant question of who the F hates me like this? And then the N-words got spray painted on his car. That pushed him into this indescribable fury, but he didn't know how to channel it yet. It led to a kind of internal breakdown.
Okay, so moving past that incredibly difficult childhood, Goggins enters this phase he calls the impossible task, trying to forge a new path. He wanted to join Air Force pararescue, inspired by his grandfather.
Right, his grandfather was a 37-year Air Force vet. That was the dream. But his academic record was a huge problem.
Because of the cheating and...
Yeah, anger from getting cut from basketball, relying on cheating. He had a D average, and he admits he was totally clueless about the emphasis the military places on education.
So the ASVAB test must have been a shock.
Big time. First attempt, junior year. Scored a 20 out of 99. The Air Force minimum was 36. He couldn't cheat, so the reality hit hard.
That was a wake-up call, but things got even tougher, right? After Wilmoth, a positive father figure was murdered.
Yeah, his mother fell into what he calls an emotional black hole, working constantly, not checking his grades anymore.
Which led to...
The school sent a letter, graduate or else, and that's what triggered his solo intervention.
The accountability mirror moment.
Exactly. Stood in front of the bathroom mirror, shaved his head, and just laid into himself. The famous line, "Nobody is coming to save your ass."
Powerful.
It wasn't just venting. It was the start of this ritual, this brutal self-accountability.
And this is where the real turnaround starts. How did he go from basically a fourth grade reading level to high school level in just 6 months?
Pure obsession. Used Post-it notes, covered that accountability mirror with study points, just relentless work.
And that discipline spilled over.
Absolutely. Fueled intense physical training, too. It all came together for his third ASVAB attempt. He knew it was his last chance. He passed, got into the Air Force.
But the journey wasn't smooth even then. He served 4 years in TACP, Tactical Air Control Party.
Right, forward air controllers, directing airstrikes.
But he still felt like a quitter.
Because he'd withdrawn from pararescue training earlier. He had a sickle cell trait diagnosis, but he felt he just folded, gave up too easily.
And after leaving the Air Force,
he spiraled, gained a lot of weight working as an exterminator, got up to nearly 300 pounds, felt numb to life, hiding behind his size, as he says.
Then came the ultimate rock bottom moment, the cockroaches and the raccoon.
Yeah, sounds almost funny, but it was grotesque.
Yeah.
Overwhelmed by a roach infestation at work, finding a live raccoon in a dumpster. It just compounded his despair.
And that led to the critical question.
When was enough truly going to be enough? Just total disgust with where he was.
It's amazing how those low points can trigger breakthroughs. He saw the movie Rocky.
Yeah, he just tried to run, lasted maybe 400 yards, ended up in tears, watched Rocky, and that round 14 scene hit him.
What was the realization?
That not all physical and mental limitations are real. That he had this pattern, this habit of giving up way too soon. He decided right there. Push through the pain.
A huge insight for anyone listening. Those limits you feel, maybe they aren't as real as you think.
Exactly.
So he maps out this insane plan. Lose 106 pounds in under 3 months. Pass the ASVAB again, this time for Bud's Navy SEAL training. What did that training look like?
Just brutal. Waking up at 4:30 a.m., hours on a stationary bike, 2-hour swims, circuit training high reps, not bulk plus constant studying.
And mentally.
He describes it as constant anxiety, depression, but he just kept pushing, using the discomfort.
And he finally tackled his fear of water head on. After failing swim tests before, what did he do when he passed the ASVAB for the SEALs?
It's kind of legendary. He celebrated by going straight to a frozen pond in Indiana in December and putting himself through brutal water drills.
Just to prove it to himself?
Yeah, declaring, "The water would not own my ass this time." Immediately confronting that past weakness.
Okay, that sets the stage for Buddy S. and what he calls the mindset arsenal. He actually felt jealousy watching Hell Week on TV.
He did. He saw it as this crucible, a place where answers were buried in all that suffering.
And SEALs themselves.
He saw them as the human equivalent of the hardest, sharpest sword, the ultimate in toughness.
Hell Week starts with the breakout, right? Instructors like Psycho Pete, what's their goal?
Their goal is to basically pick and peel away our layers. Find the mines that won't break.
And during surf torture, linked arms in the cold ocean, that big question comes up.
Yeah, the profound "why am I here" question. It hits everyone, and it's where a lot of guys unravel.
But Goggins, he got pulled from his first Hell Week with double pneumonia, but he didn't quit. He came back. Twice.
Right. Second Hell Week, then a third. His philosophy was that these experiences, even getting sick, served to callous the mind.
So for listeners, the idea is that setbacks can actually make you stronger.
If you face them head on, yes. Reframe adversity as mental training. Every bit of discomfort builds resilience.
And that calloused mind helped him push through immediate intense pain later, like the injured knee during the underwater knot tying drill.
Definitely. He tapped into that cookie jar idea we'll talk more about. He recalled the work he'd already put in. He understood that pushing through discomfort can actually trigger your fight or flight to go harder.
So you use past wins to fight present doubt.
Exactly. Override those 1-second impulses to give in. Connect the physical pain to your mental strength. Draw on what you've already overcome.
He talks about doubt being like a backseat driver. What's the practical takeaway there? How do you manage doubt daily?
It's about active compartmentalization. Acknowledge it. Okay, it's there, but don't let it grab the steering wheel.
Don't let it in the cockpit.
Right. You see the thought, you acknowledge it, but you consciously choose the driven response anyway. If doubt takes control, you're done.
Which leads to another concept, taking souls. What does he mean by that?
It's a psychological tactic, a mind game he played, partly on others, partly on himself.
To gain an edge.
Yeah. Like mentally dominating the instructors during surf torture to feel warmer, or pushing past guys on runs when he felt his worst. It's about bringing your absolute best when you feel your absolute worst, projecting invincibility, breaking their will, but also mastering your own.
And the cookie jar strategy, how does that work as a practical tool when someone's feeling totally overwhelmed?
It's about active recall. The metaphor comes from his mom stocking a literal cookie jar during tough times.
Right.
The key is you consciously remember past victories, big or small.
Right.
Don't dismiss the small ones, they're kindling, he says.
So learning to read, passing that ASVAB.
Losing the weight, getting through a tough workout yesterday,
Wow.
whatever it is, pull up that memory when you're struggling. That positive self-talk, that proof you've done hard things before, it fuels you right when you need that second wind.
Okay, moving to relentless pursuit. Goggins jumps into the ultramarathon world. San Diego one day, 101 miles, with just 3 days' notice. Why?
It was purpose-driven, raising money for the Special Operations Warrior Foundation, honoring his SEAL teammates, killed in Operation Red Wings Dietz, Murphy, Axelson.
He was running for them.
Exactly, a purpose much larger than himself.
But the physical toll was horrific. Bloody urine, diarrhea, cracked toenails, delirium. How does Goggins translate that extreme suffering into something applicable for, the rest of us?
That's key. He's not saying everyone should run 100 miles or endure that level of pain. It's about understanding potential.
Okay.
He found a trophy ceremony in the pain, realizing how much more the body can handle than we think. It's about pushing your comfort zone incrementally, purposefully. The lesson is mental fortitude, not necessarily physical destruction.
And this experience led him to think about the 40% rule. What is that?
During his first trail race, the Hurt 100 in Hawaii, where he was totally unprepared, undersupplied, he started really formulating this idea that most people quit when they've only given about 40% of their actual capacity. When your mind screams stop, you usually have a lot more in the tank. He finished 9th in that race, by the way, despite being exhausted, even sleepwalking parts of it.
Just pushing through that 40% barrier.
Exactly. It's a mental barrier more than a physical one most of the time.
And seeing Carl Meltzer speed goat at that race also inspired him.
Yeah, watching Meltzer glide over tough terrain seemingly effortlessly made him realize there's this whole other level of athlete. And that potential is in all of us. It wasn't just physical skill, but mental mastery. It pushed Goggins to aim even higher.
His path stayed unconventional. He gets called in by Admiral Ed Winters for a specific mission. Recruit more African Americans into the SEAL teams. Why was that so important?
Well, at the time, African Americans were only about 1% of special forces, despite being 13% of the population. This created operational challenges, particularly for missions in places like West Africa.
And Goggins' approach was different.
Totally different. Instead of the standard military recruitment scripts, he went to historically black universities, like Howard, and just shared his raw, unfiltered life story.
No sugarcoating.
None. He told them they were looking for guys with heart, people who craved honor and purpose. Authenticity was his strategy.
He really lived the ethos, being uncommon amongst uncommon. What did that look like practically?
I mean, he'd run ultramarathons in the towns he was visiting for recruitment. show up on stage, literally soaking wet from a 50-mile run, do push-ups, then invite interested students to train with him at 3 a.m.
Wow. Leading by extreme example.
Exactly. He showed them what the standard was. He embodied that relentless pursuit.
And this connects to his starting at zero mentality, learned in Ranger School.
Right. In Ranger School, rank disappears. Everyone starts equal, starts at zero. The idea is you can't get complacent.
Yesterday's win doesn't matter today.
Pretty much. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. So you always have to find new challenges, new goals, new ways to train. For listeners, it means never resting on your laurels. Always be evaluating, always be pushing. Continuous improvement.
Okay, finally, unyielding spirit, facing failure, evolving. His drive gets interrupted by a serious health issue, right? A heart defect.
Yeah, suddenly his resting pulse skyrockets. He gets diagnosed with an atrial septal defect, ASD, a hole in his heart he was born with.
Which explained earlier issues like the double pneumonia.
Exactly. The doctor was stunned he'd achieved so much with that condition. But then his first corrective surgery failed. Caused atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat.
And the Navy suggested
Retirement. But Goggins just refused that victim's mentality.
So what did he do while non-deployable?
He focused on what he could control, perfected his admin work, his recruitment presentations, kept his mind sharp, turned the setback into a different kind of training period.
Second surgery worked. He aimed for Delta Force selection again. Got in, excelled physically, but then failed.
Yeah, sent home for a critical land navigation error after a 5-year wait and all that effort.
How did he process that failure?
He accepted the standard. He understood Delta demanded absolute perfection, A+ students. One lapse in focus on the battlefield could be fatal. He saw it as a hard lesson in precision, not just a failure of will, attention to detail under pressure.
Which brings us to the pull-up world record attempts. First one, he fails. Falls short by 800 pull-ups. What did he do then?
He created a detailed after-action report, an AAR, analyzed every mistake.
Like what?
Lack of focus, letting selfie takers distract him, poor nutrition planning, even ignoring critical feedback, the hard truths from haters. He dissected the failure completely. That's a huge lesson. Don't just move on from failure. Learn everything you can from it.
And he used that analysis for the second attempt, which was successful. 4,030 pull-ups. But it was brutal.
Incredibly brutal. 17 hours, pushing through rhabdomyolysis, that severe muscle breakdown, using just his fingertips towards the end.
What does that victory demonstrate?
That failure isn't the end. It's fuel. It's a stepping stone, as he says. He took every lesson from the first try and applied it with absolute discipline. True resilience isn't avoiding failure, it's mastering it.
It seems like a lot of this comes down to deep self-acceptance. He had this revelation after quitting the Badwater 135 race at 50 miles.
Yeah, physical breakdown, vision issues, ended up in a Vegas hospital, and he realized his destroyed body was my biggest trophy.
What did he accept about his past, then?
He finally accepted that his earlier lying and cheating came from wanting acceptance, from being ashamed of feeling dumb. It was a moment of self-compassion, understanding the roots of those old behaviors.
And then he found something almost simple. Stretching. Initially ignored advice from Joe Hippensteel.
Right. But then it became a new obsession. Hours of daily stretching.
And the result.
Unwound years of tension actually regained height he'd lost from compression. He went from feeling sick, wound-tight, and stressed out to being, in his words, in better shape at 43 than I was in my 20s. Sometimes the biggest gains come from mastering the basics.
His story also shows this cycle of change impacting others. People from his past transformed too.
Yeah, it's inspiring. Bill Brown, who used to bully him, became a lawyer. Another guy, SBG, a data analyst. His mom got her master's, works with domestic violence victims. His brother earned a PhD, became a college administrator.
Wow, a ripple effect.
Definitely. His journey showed them what was possible, maybe sparked something in them too.
And he's still going. Became a wildland firefighter at 43, running faster than ever. What's his belief about pushing limits now?
He believes that his willingness to constantly push his own limits can kind of reflect off others. It highlights their own self-limitations and maybe inspires them to push theirs. He leads by example, constantly challenging perceived boundaries.
So that brings us to the end of this deep dive. We've covered Goggins' incredible journey: trauma, racism, SEALs, ultras, mindset mastery. We've looked at the accountability mirror, the cookie jar, the 40% rule starting at 0.
Yeah, and the core message isn't just about the crazy physical stuff. It's that the human body, and more importantly the mind, can handle a hell of a lot more than most of us think possible.
It all begins and ends in the mind.
Right. Taking ownership, facing reality head-on, turning every single obstacle, every failure into fuel. That's the essence of it.
So Goggins leaves us with this final provocative thought. What if? What if those limits you see in your life, work, personal, physical, what if they aren't real ceilings?
What if they're just artificial barriers you've accepted?
Barriers that can be shattered through discipline, through commitment to growth. So the question for you listening is, what steps will you take, maybe even today, to embrace some discomfort, use your own past wins from your cookie jar, and push beyond your own 40%?